In the distant mists of prehistory, when the ice sheets dominated the northern plains of Europe, there roamed a race of men, savage and brutal in their ways, yet resourceful, driven by an iron will to survive in the unforgiving wilderness. These were the Neanderthals, a barbaric people whose existence was bound to the hunt, their lives a constant battle against the elements, beasts and hunger. It was an age of savage beauty, a time when Europe was teeming with life, yet fraught with danger. Neanderthals, clad in animal skins and armed with crude but effective wooden spears, stalked their prey with relentless determination. Neanderthals were a barbarian people, hardened by the struggles of a world that knew no mercy, but also astute in the ways of survival, their every action governed by an instinct born from countless generations of brutal existence. Their bodies, thick with muscle and sinew, were well suited for the hunt. The Neanderthals were not as tall as their distant cousins, the Homo sapiens, but their frames were broader, their arms and legs powerful from the labor of survival. Their faces were brutish, with heavy brow ridges and deep-set eyes that glinted with a primal intelligence. To the untrained observer, they might appear as little more than wild animals themselves, but within them burned the fierce determination of a race that had endured the cruelties of the earth for millennia. Neanderthals, though savage in their ways, were not without skill. They were craftsmen, and their most prized tools were their finely crafted wooden spears and obsidian knives. These weapons, carved from the sturdy branches of the forest trees, were the products of generations of trial and error, passed down from father to son, in a long tradition of hunting. The spears were long and heavy, their tips hardened in fire, designed to pierce the thick hides of woolly rhinos. A recent study using 2 replicas of Neanderthal spears, about 6 feet long and probably weighing 2 pounds, demonstrated that a target could be hit at up to 65 feet with significant impact, enough to take down large prey. The theory that Neanderthals had exceptionally muscular physiques due to spear throwing is reinforced by the nature of their hunting practices, which were far more physically demanding than those of later hunter-gatherers. Unlike modern hunters, who primarily use bows and arrows to hunt smaller, more manageable animals from a safer distance, Ice Age Neanderthals hunted massive, highly dangerous megafauna with nothing but wooden spears. These prehistoric hunters regularly faced off against mammoths, woolly rhinoceroses, bison, cave bears, cave lions and giant deer, creatures that were not only larger and stronger than any modern game, but also far more aggressive. Taking down such animals required not only teamwork and strategy, but also extraordinary physical strength, endurance and skill. Spear throwing was not simply a skill for survival. It was a life-or-death necessity. The act of launching a heavy spear at high velocity requires explosive power, engaging the shoulders, arms, core and legs in a way similar to modern javelin throwing. However, unlike modern athletes who train in controlled environments, Ice Age hunters had to perfect their technique under extreme high-pressure conditions. A poorly placed throw could mean the difference between a successful hunt and being trampled or gored by an enraged beast. This continual exposure to intense physical exertion naturally resulted in heavily muscled upper bodies, powerful legs and reinforced joints as their bodies adapted to the immense stresses placed on them. Fossil evidence supports this idea, showing that Neanderthals had exceptionally dense bones, large muscle attachments, and asymmetrical arm strength, suggesting years of throwing practice from childhood. Their skeletons show clear signs of repetitive stress injuries, similar to those seen in modern professional athletes who engage in high-impact explosive movements. The physical demands of taking down Ice Age megafauna meant that they could not rely on quick, effortless hunts from a distance. Instead, they had to throw their weapons with maximum force and precision or engage in close-range combat with thrusting spears. This brutal and unforgiving method of hunting ensured that only the strongest, fastest and most fearless individuals survived and passed on their genes. In contrast, later human populations that adopted bows and arrows gradually moved away from this extreme level of physicality. With projectile weapons that allowed hunters to hunt prey from a safe distance, the need for enormous upper body strength diminished over time. Hunting with bow and arrow, while still requiring skill and endurance, does not demand the same explosive power or full-body engagement as spear throwing against massive animals. As a result, modern hunter-gatherers, who primarily hunt medium-sized game like deer and antelope, do not exhibit the same extreme musculature or bone density as their Ice Age ancestors. The comparison between Ice Age hunters and modern athletes also highlights the level of training involved. Just as an Olympic javelin thrower spends years perfecting their throwing motion to maximize speed and accuracy, Neanderthals must have spent their entire lives refining their technique. Children would have started practicing with small spears at a young age, gradually building the strength, coordination, and endurance needed for real hunts. This lifelong, high-intensity training regimen, far beyond what most modern humans experience, would have sculpted them into powerful, functionally strong hunters capable of taking down creatures that weighed several tons. Furthermore, the physicality of Ice Age hunting extended beyond just throwing. Once a spear was embedded in a large animal, hunters often had to track and finish off wounded prey, a process that could involve sprinting, wrestling with thrashing animals, and using raw strength to drive a weapon deeper. The sheer difficulty of the hunt meant that early humans had to be in peak physical conditions simply to survive. Unlike today's athletes, who train to optimize performance for short bursts of competition, Neanderthals needed their strength, endurance, and precision for every single hunt. Failure was not an option, as an unsuccessful hunt could mean starvation or death. Ultimately, the necessity of hunting Ice Age megafauna ensured that Neanderthals developed a level of muscularity and explosive power that far surpasses that of modern hunter-gatherers or athletes. The combination of heavy spears, high-risk hunts, and lifelong practice meant that their physiques were naturally jacked in a way that was not just for show but for pure survival. They were not training for sport, but for their very existence, battling the largest and most dangerous beasts the Ice Age had to offer with nothing but their skill, strength, and raw determination. But there is no reason to think that Neanderthals only hunted for survival. They may have been adrenaline junkies who hunted for the thrill of taking down the biggest beast they could find, and the elevated social status of being the alpha predator of a group would also result in better mating opportunities if Neanderthal culture was anything like modern human culture. The intense and physically demanding lifestyle of Neanderthals not only sculpted their bodies into powerful muscular forms, but also exposed them to severe injuries that closely resemble those seen in modern rodeo riders and contact sports athletes. Fossil evidence indicates that Neanderthals frequently suffered from broken bones, dislocated joints, and other trauma consistent with high-impact hunting methods. This suggests that their way of life, hunting massive and highly aggressive Ice Age megafauna, led to an extraordinary number of injuries, particularly in the upper body, which aligns with the kind of damage seen in rodeo riders who are frequently thrown from or trampled by large, powerful animals. But one of the most striking parallels between Neanderthals and modern contact sport athletes is the likelihood that they suffered from head trauma, including concussions and long-term brain damage. Just as in members of the military and professional fighters are at risk of brain injury due to repeated blows to the head, Neanderthals likely experienced similar injuries as a result of their hunting methods. Hunting dangerous megafauna with nothing but wooden spears, often at close range, would have put them at constant risk of being struck, trampled or gored by enormous thrashing animals. Fossilized Neanderthal skulls show evidence of healed fractures and depressions, strongly suggesting that these individuals endured significant head trauma throughout their lives. The risks associated with Neanderthal hunting strategies were not just theoretical. Their fossil record provides direct evidence of repeated trauma. Fossils from Shanidar Cave in Mesopotamia and La Ferracie rock shelter in Western Europe are testament to their savage existence. Studies of Neanderthal fossil remains show that they frequently suffered from rib fractures, skull injuries, and upper limb trauma, injuries that are eerily similar to those sustained by rodeo riders who are thrown from bulls and then kicked or trampled. This further supports the idea that Neanderthals were constantly engaging in high-risk encounters with massive animals that could seriously injure or dispatch them with a single well-placed strike. Unlike modern humans, who have access to advanced medical treatment and protective gear, Neanderthals had no way of fully recovering from these injuries beyond natural healing processes. A Neanderthal who sustained a severe concussion or multiple head injuries would likely suffer long-term cognitive impairments. This raises intriguing questions about the effects of repeated trauma on Neanderthal communities. Did they recognize and care for those with neurological decline, or did they simply become less effective hunters and perish sooner? The fact that some Neanderthals survived into their 40s despite their injuries suggests that their groups may have provided support for injured members, much like how modern sports teams rehabilitate injured players. Ultimately, the combination of high testosterone levels, extreme physical exertion, and frequent exposure to injury meant that Neanderthals lived lives of intense physicality but also rapid physical decline. The repeated concussions and skeletal trauma they sustained would have made them more prone to chronic pain, joint issues, and neurological impairments, much like modern professional athletes and fighters who push their bodies to the limit in their prime but often suffer the consequences later in life. The parallels between Neanderthals and today's most physically demanding athletes suggest that they were not only built for power and survival, but also paid the price for their brutal, high-impact lifestyle. Their world was one of relentless physical struggle, and while their bodies were optimized for the hunt, their lives were likely shaped by the long-term effects of the injuries they sustained in their never-ending battle against the megafauna of the Ice Age. The Neanderthals, with their finely crafted wooden spears, were a people of savage strength, animalistic ferocity, and brutal efficiency. Their lives were shaped by the hunt, their existence bound to the animals they pursued and the predators they fought. Yet, for all their ferocity, there was likely a deep respect for the natural world, a reverence for the creatures that shared their land. The extreme physical demands of hunting Ice Age megafauna not only shaped the muscular physiques of Neanderthals, but also contributed to their relatively short lifespans. Much like modern professional wrestlers or American football players, who undergo years of intense training and physical punishment that often lead to early aging, chronic injuries, and a shortened lifespan, Ice Age hunters lived a high-impact, high-testosterone lifestyle that took a toll on their bodies. One key factor in this phenomenon was the elevated testosterone levels in Ice Age hunters, which would have played a crucial role in muscle growth, aggression, and overall physical performance. High testosterone is strongly linked to increased muscle mass, bone density, and faster recovery from exertion, all of which would have been critical for survival in a world dominated by large, aggressive prey. However, just as in modern contact sports athletes, elevated testosterone levels come with a cost. Studies on high testosterone individuals, including professional fighters and football players, suggest that while they develop superior strength and resilience in their youth, their bodies also break down faster due to excessive wear and tear. This may have been the case for Neanderthals as well, whose fossils often show signs of significant physical trauma, including fractures, joint degeneration, and spinal compression, injuries similar to those found in modern high-impact athletes. The connection between testosterone, physical prowess, and shorter lifespans is well documented in both human and animal studies. In modern sports, top-tier athletes often exhibit signs of accelerated aging by their 30s due to years of extreme exertion. Similarly, fossil evidence suggests that Neanderthals and early Homo sapiens rarely lived beyond their 40s, with many showing signs of severe physical stress long before that. The combination of high testosterone, extreme physicality, and constant exposure to life-threatening situations meant that their bodies, while incredibly strong and muscular, also burned out quickly. Furthermore, the high testosterone levels that fueled their strength and aggression may have also influenced their social structures and behaviors. Just as in modern contact sports, where high testosterone athletes often exhibit more dominance-driven behavior, Neanderthals likely had competitive and hierarchical social dynamics centered around hunting ability and physical prowess. This would have further reinforced the need to develop powerful physiques from an early age, as hunting success not only ensured survival, but also determined social status and reproductive success. Ultimately, the lifestyle of Ice Age hunters was one of extreme highs and lows, unparalleled strength and skill in their prime, but a rapid physical decline as they aged. Their daily existence was akin to that of modern professional fighters or American football players, whose bodies are finely tuned for explosive power but deteriorate quickly due to the sheer punishment they endure. While their superhuman physiques were essential for survival in a brutal world of megafauna hunting, it came at the cost of long-term health and longevity. In the end, the price of their strength was a life lived fast, hard, and often cut short. The necessity of spear throwing and the sheer physicality of chasing, ambushing, and wrestling down massive animals meant that their bodies were constantly under stress. Unlike modern humans, who can rely on medical treatment, rehabilitation, and rest periods, Ice Age hunters had no choice but to keep moving, hunting, and fighting despite injuries. This relentless lifestyle likely contributed to premature aging, much like how retired professional athletes often experience chronic pain, arthritis, and neurological issues due to repeated trauma over their careers. The difference, of course, is that while modern athletes choose to put their bodies through this punishment for sport, Ice Age hunters had no alternative. It was either develop a powerful, high-testosterone physique capable of taking down megafauna or face starvation and extinction. And with that tantalizing statement, we leave you to contemplate the mysteries of our shared human history. Until next time, remain curious and stay questioning. Please subscribe, share, and check out our channel's other videos. Thank you and take care.